Morning. Oops. Good morning. Well, good morning for me, good afternoon for some of you, or good evening, depending on when it is that you're going to see this. I'm sitting outside and recording this, and I can hear a little bit of noise. Today's a huge sporting event for some of the kids, but I can see that some of my neighbours' kids may not have been allowed to go, so they're outside playing. So hopefully there's not much of a noise, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, it is what it is. But today I wanted to speak about why most professionals may fail at business, or the three main reasons that they fail in business, and why they won't make their first £1,000. And I speak about making your first £1,000, and this isn't where you're talking about make £5,000 in a month and all that kind of stuff and the hype that goes along with it. We don't always like talking about money. It makes us feel uncomfortable. But money is the thing that keeps most of us stuck in our jobs when we're not happy about it, because we don't know how we're going to replace our salary. So we have to get a little bit comfortable in talking about how you make money outside of your 9 to 5. And I also speak about £1,000, not because that £1,000 is going to change well, it will, but it's how. Not because when you make that first £1,000, you're going to be able to say, okay, so now I can leave. No, it's not that. But knowing that you can make money outside of corporate does something up here. And so that's why we have to get comfortable, not just saying, oh, how am I going to pay the bills if I leave my corporate job, but looking at how can I make money. Sometimes we're uncomfortable putting those two words together, make and money. So let's get a little bit comfortable. So many professionals will fail at business, not because they lack ability, but because if you bring your corporate mindset into the business arena, into the business world, you're going to fail. And it's because corporate behaviors, the way that we are taught to behave and understand and perform in corporate, doesn't work in the business world. It keeps you playing small, it will keep you stuck, and you will never be able to make or understand how to generate income if you bring your corporate mindset into the business world. So, the first mistake that many people make when wanting to leave corporate and go into business is that they wait for everything to be perfect. And again, that's where the corporate mindset comes from. You don't hand in reports until they are perfect. You don't finish projects or even speak about them properly and or present them to a board unless they are perfect, or you can really justify why certain things aren't done. You don't talk about your strategies unless they're absolutely perfect. And the difficulty with that is that in business, perfection is not rewarded. In corporate, it is. Corporate does not reward trial and error. I remember some years ago we had in my corporate job, we had a director who came in, and it was literally like a breath of fresh air. Every time they spoke, it was kind of like a TED talk each time. And we were in a very new area because it was a privatized company, and the language was very different. The language was just try new ideas. It was the language of innovation. It was saying to try things, and if you fail, don't worry about it, test it, and if you fail fast and you fail forward and you learn, and you don't know if you can hear that, you fail and you can fail fast and move forward. That language felt really good. It felt like you had permission to try new things. However, corporate doesn't reward that. Corporate is not always prepared for things to fail, even though things may be moving forward and it might be slow. It's kind of like a juggernaut. It's like when trying to change things in corporate. Sometimes it's like trying to, what is it they when they talk about moving a turning an oil tanker around in the ocean. It takes forever if it ever gets turned around at all. Policies and procedures will stay the same way because it was seen to work then, and even if it doesn't fit with the new times and modern times, it will still continue the same way because nobody wants to be the person who tries it and fails because reputations and everything is at stake. I don't know if you can hear the screaming that, but they're playing with their ball out there, so I can hear it. But anyway, it's kids. And so business doesn't reward perfection. Business requires you to move quickly. Business rewards speed when it comes to testing and validation of your ideas. And when you validate it, it means that you've tested it. It means that you've tried it. It means that you can see what works, what doesn't work, what needs to be reworked. And so the professionals who will go forward in business and leave corporate, and this is before you leave corporate, mind you, the professional the professionals who would be able, excuse me, the professionals who would be able to make their first £1,000 the fastest will be those who do something really simple. And it's starting by helping someone to solve a specific problem. And it's a problem that they already know how to solve. It's not going to be the professionals who are sitting there thinking, I need to take 101 courses and I need to go and do these 101 training courses and requalify and retrain. That's not how you start getting into the mindset of generating. That can come, but if you really want to flex that muscle, I'm pretty sure you can hear that. If you really want to flex that muscle of generating income, you have to look at what knowledge, what skills, what experience, what expertise do you already have? What problems do you solve right now? And how can you help somebody with those problems? And that's how you go forward, not by having everything perfect. Number two, the second mistake that professionals will make is trying to build a business instead of selling their expertise. So, kind of linked to the first one. And this is where, I was speaking to somebody last week and I cannot tell you what their business idea is, but I know that they're putting together a website. Because I was asking, what is it you're doing? Oh, I'm just getting my website together, and they're getting their branding together. And people will take months and years on their branding and their logo and getting everything right, rather than looking at what actually is the idea that you've got and what's your offer. So, and you know, I say it's one of the common mistakes that professionals will make. They want to have the perfect website, they want to have the perfect branding, you want to have the perfect logo, and all of those things do matter. But many people do that before they even start understanding whether or not the idea makes sense and whether or not they're actually going to make money from it. You do not need a fancy website, fancy branding, and this whole complicated business model. What you need to do right at the beginning, right at the start, in order to validate your idea, is to simply provide value. Because none of those things, you can have the most bright, spankly, sparkling website, but it's not going to bring you income unless you're providing value. Income comes when you are solving a specific problem for a specific person. And your first £1,000, as I said earlier, is going to come from your existing knowledge, not by going out there and having to learn a whole new skill. And if you think about all of the knowledge that you already hold, you might have been in your space for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. What is it that you do well? You already have the skills, the knowledge, the experience, the expertise that can start generating you income. The issue is that we usually think that we have to go out and try something new. The people that we see have the glow up or the blow up in their business and have done really well are people who haven't gone out there and had to get everything perfect from first, or haven't gone out there and put the pressure on something new in terms of a business and put it out there as, I'm doing a business. They literally start with, what's my expertise? How can I help somebody? How can I solve a problem? Because when you have an idea and you automatically just throw it into business mode, what you're doing as well is you're moving really quickly from like infancy stage into full-blown adult, and you're putting pressure on a business that you don't even know has legs as yet. It's kind of like having a newborn baby and force feeding it and saying, you now have to provide you now have to provide for the family, and this baby is literally just not even just started drinking milk. The third mistake that people make that corporate professionals will make when thinking about starting a business. I hope they scored a really good goal. If you can hear that screaming. The third mistake that corporate professionals will make, some corporate professionals will make, is waiting for permission. Every single thing in corporate has to be signed off and waited for approval. Even, if you wanted to take a pen and put it on a particular desk, you'd have to look at what pens do we use. Does it need to be locked down? Is it a silver string or a fabric string that needs to be on it? Everything needs permission and approval from managers, looking at processes from the organization. And business doesn't work like that, because you'd never get anywhere. And a lot of the times, whilst you're waiting for approval and waiting for permission, by the time it comes through, if it even comes through, there's no point doing it anyway because the moment has passed. In business, it's the market that decides what needs to be done. In business, it is the market that gives you permission and tells you what idea is the best one. And the only way that you can find out if your experience has any type of value to offer is to offer it and to test it and to validate it. So, those are the three main mistakes that professionals will fall into when thinking about starting a business. And it's usually because you think everything has to be perfect. And, if you didn't if you didn't grow up as a perfectionist, trust me, going into corporate is going to turn you into perfectionist, because everything is scrutinized, everything is analyzed. Even when they say, come up with new ideas, it's really rehashing stuff that has already worked before. And it's only going to fit the bar, and it's only going to be agreed usually if it fits into the parameters of what's already agreed. And so the first stage of business is not just about having an idea, and it's definitely not about putting pressure onto a business, but it's about validation. And so that is the most important thing that you have to do when you have a business idea, is to validate it. Have you tested it? Most professionals will struggle when they think about coming out of business, not because they lack confidence, not because they do not have great ideas, and not because they don't have experience. You are probably the person who even the manager might come to clarify certain things. The people in your team come to you and look to you for your expertise and your knowledge and your skills and your experience, for whether you've been there for many years or a few years, and you've grasped certain things and you've got your own way of doing things. You are very you I will hedge a bet that many of the people who are watching this are very good at what you do, but you will struggle if you try to think about business in terms of your corporate mindset rather than a business mindset. And so that's the most important thing that you have to do, is get evidence. And this is why when I talk about generating your first £1,000, this is not about the money, it's about the evidence. That when you start generating money outside of your corporate job, it's a shift from, you've given me the roles, you've given me the template of how I need to work. These are the policies that I need to work within. These are my responsibilities. And then at the end of the month, when I complete these tasks, I get paid. It shifts you from that and gives you the evidence you need that your knowledge, your expertise, your skills, your experience has value outside of the organization. That's what generating that first £1,000 does for you. It's evidence that you can create income independently, that you don't have to sit there and do these tasks, get critiqued on it, and then, it's great to be able to have the security and safety of that salary at the end of the month. But when I looked at certain skills that I had, and ways that I've been able to use them now, and understand that they are worth far more in value than my monthly salary, that's when you understand what you're actually holding in terms of your expertise and your experience. And once that happens, it's like when your brain has been exposed to that new knowledge that there is another world, there is another way, it changes everything for you. So if you're still in corporate and you're trying to build something outside of your job, your first goal is not to put pressure on it and not to think of it as I'm building a business. That is going to come. Don't get me wrong, that is definitely going to come. But your first goal is looking at how you validate that idea, and that validation, that level 3 validation, is getting paid, making your first £1,000. And that proves that you have expertise, knowledge, experience, skills that someone will pay you for. And that's important. Huge mind shift. So, this is that validation, that idea, that testing is what we do and what we're going to be doing in the 6-week program that starts on the 13th of April. It's the Exit Income Blueprint. This is not about quitting your job. You don't come in here and at the end of 6 weeks you quit your job. This is not about taking that type of gamble with your income. This is about learning how to turn your experience into your first validated offer, into testing it and getting comfortable with making money outside of your 9 to 5. And when you do that, when you make your first £1,000, then you're no longer you're no longer working for guesswork. It's no longer this pie in the sky idea of I wonder if it will work. This is where you're going to start building evidence, and that's the purpose of the 6-week program. So if you are in corporate and you're wondering, and you're sitting there with ideas, and you know that you have the experience, I talk about the KESS equation, your knowledge, your experience, and your skills. You know that you have an idea, and you know that you are meant for more. You're not happy with just sitting there and going through the motions because you know the job like the back of your hand, and you can't even be bothered with a promotion anymore. If that is you, and you are ready to test your ideas, to validate it, and start proving your worth outside of your 9 to 5, then the Exit Income Blueprint is for you. And if you're interested, if you no, not even if you're interested, it's not about interest, it's if you're doing the work. I'm only going to be working with between 8 to 10 people. And if you are ready to do the work, then comment ready below this video or send me a DM, and I will keep you posted as we put the program together and start on April the 13th. This is the time where you stop doing the guesswork and literally start putting your evidence together to show whether or not your ideas are actually valid. So if this is you and you're wondering whether or not your experience could ever generate income outside of your organization, the real question that you have to be asking yourself is not, I wonder if it's possible. The real question you have to be asking yourself is, have you tested it yet? And if you are ready to get to testing, let's get ready and do some work. So thank you to everybody who's come on. I can see that there's somebody watching. If you made it this far, let me know that you got here. And if you are ready to get to work on validating and testing your ideas so that you can start generating income and have options outside of your 9 to 5, then as I said, comment ready below or send me a DM, and I will see you again back here next week. Take care, have a fabulous Tuesday, and yeah, take care. Bye.